In the middle of a golf course, 15-year-old Zoya Lowe picks up a bottle of pills as a man's voice whispers that she will change the world. Snaps to 40 years in the future, she wakes up in the hospital. Her family is told that she has a black hole growing in her chest, and at most only has 7 days to live. The doctor asks her daughter Jane and husband Donald to take her home as there is nothing they can do for her at the hospital anymore. Moments later, Jane tells Zoya the good news: she is going home. On the way, Jane reads the diagnosis and tells them only astronauts and people exposed to long periods of small doses of radiation can develop the condition her mother has. Over the next few days, Zoya begins to tie up the loose ends of her life, promising to finish her pending latest book to her publishers, and signs her final will with her lawyer, as she is advised to relax and enjoy quality family time. Later, she goes to the retirement home and meets her mother, who does not speak much. Outside the retirement home, she meets a woman, asking for her permission to sit down on the bench next to her. However, she asks her to beware of the bird poop. Surprised, she asks her what she means. Just then, a bird drops a big pile of shit on the bench where the woman wanted to sit. When she asks her how did she know about the bird poo, she tells her she has been here with her before. She then goes on, telling her about the time loop she is stuck on, how she takes the pill at the end of the week and wakes up again remembering nothing. Still not sure what she means, Zoya tells her she has lived this week before and knows what is going to happen before it happens, from the hospital to the publishers, to the beach, to the retirement home, to her birthday. She has experienced it all before. Completely blown away, when the woman asks her if they have met before today, Zoya tells her she has not only met her, but the bocce too, who shows up just in time. The woman asks her for her name. But Zoya tells her it does not matter if she tells her the name, because she will not remember, that after her nose starts bleeding she will take the pill and wake up in the hospital and the week will start again, as always. We see Zoya is back again with the woman and she is completely clueless they have had the conversation before. But this time, when the woman asks her how did she know about the bird poop, Zoya tells her it was a lucky guess. And ends the conversation. As Zoya relives her life moments going over the old pictures from her college days, Donald points to Mark, Zoya's old boyfriend, and wonders where he is now. She asks him to stop acting as if he did not have a girlfriend before her. In the evening, they bring out a cake for Zoya even though her birthday is a week ahead. But her nose begins bleeding and has to step away. She finds her pills and locks herself in the bathroom. As she puts the pills in her mouth and disappears, she knows what is coming next. She goes back in time, a week before, and relives those moments again. However, this time, as she watches the story of a one-horned rhino on TV, who only has a week to live, she tells her mother it will die in a week. However, she gets no response from her. Avoiding the conversation with the woman on the bench this time, she walks away and bumps into Paula. Zoya finds her book with Paula and is surprised she has not seen her before today. She asks her where she found the book and asks her to take her there. Paula takes her to her room and finds out Paula is a student in MDC, the local college, and works in the lab under Professor Handel, famous for inventing the machine that shrunk a man to nanoparticle size, called the nanoscopic man. Zoya finds out Paula is studying time and sees her number inside the book. Before they can talk more, Donald shows up and she has to leave. She goes home and spends time with her family listening to Jane playing the piano. Later, Zoya tells Donald she is tired of waiting to die, asking her if there is something she can do to save herself. Donald is surprised to hear Zoya talk about her college research and finds out Zoya is just tired of doing the same thing day after day. They bring out the cake again. But before she blows out the candles, her nose begins to bleed. She asks them to give her a moment as there is something she needs to do. She goes outside and calls Paula, who is surprised to hear from her. She promises to find her after she wakes up, as she pops the pill. A week before she wakes up again. But this time, it's different. She seems full of purpose. Zoya sneaks out of the hospital without meeting Donald, who is busy talking to the receptionist. She drives to her home, packs her bag, grabs her pill, hops on the metro and meets Paula outside her home. However, Paula does not seem to remember her. As she tries to convince her she has met her before and that she is from the past, Paula tests her asking her how many fingers she is holding behind her back. Zoya fails. However, she comes back again a week later, and tell her how many fingers she is holding behind her back, many times. Now convinced, Zoya finds out Paula needs her help in finding out how the pills work, with the hope she can use them to extend her life. On their way to the lab, Zoya tells her she has tried everything before, and her only option now is to break it down and see what is inside the pills in a lab to see if they can be tweaked. Paula asks her to keep her expectations low about the lab. Zoya finds the lab in a pretty bad state. Zoya begins to dictate for Paula and tells her the pills are not made of anything particular, how they can't be dissolved or burned. Paula does not understand how it can even work without a form. But Zoya tells her best guess would be they are in some state of limbo and constantly regenerating themselves. As they argue over the best way to move forward, Paula asks her if she has her old research they can look up. Paula suggests they look at the pills subatomically to find out what is inside them. She thinks there is someone who can help, and steps away, asking her to wait. Stepping outside, Zoya sees her old Professor Dulsberg, who is equally surprised to see her. Finding out she wants to replicate a compound in the lab, he invites her to his office to discuss. She finds out Mark Harrison, his old friend, and his student, has put him in this job. He seems angry at the prospect of teaching at a community college in the middle of the parking lot. But he is happy to see her again. As they step inside, they discover Paula is there too. Dulsberg shares his disappointment to see a brilliant student like Zoya squander all opportunities because she felt entitled and impatient. This breaks Zoya's heart. Moments later, Paula asks her not to worry about what the old man said in his office. But Zoya tells her he was not completely wrong. As Zoya calms down, Paula shows her what she was looking for inside his office. When she asks Paula how an empty box will break down a pill subatomically, Paula tells her it's not empty and there is the nanoscopic man inside. They take the box to a freezer and hook it up to a power source. Paula tells her the nanoscopic man can help with breaking down the pill with his particle detector suit and communicate with them with the help of a display. Zoya drops the pill and finds out the nanoscopic man can take anything from seconds to infinity to get the results. Soon, they get the results but discover Zoya was right about the contents of pills being in constant flux. Over the next few days, they work on the problem and develop a friendship, but fail to solve the problem. Zoya begins to wonder if she was not meant to change the world after all and it is all a mistake. Zoya remembers motivating her daughter not to give up and to continue practicing piano just like her father once motivated her, telling her she could be anything she wanted to be if she tried hard. As the week resets again, Zoya travels to the lab with Paula and finds herself in a never-ending loop of coming back to the lab and failing repeatedly. After having a little incident in the lab, Paula asks her if they can do something else. Zoya tells her about an opportunity that she missed as a student when her group was invited to a 2-year program at CERN, but she could not go. She regrets not going with them, and after that had to shove her research in a box and put it away. Paula finds out the box is with her mother now. But she begins to bleed again and pops the pills. Waking up, she goes to Paula and joins her again, looking for her research. Going through her old boxes, Zoya finds her mom has kept everything from her past, including her class textbooks, except her box from the college. However, she finds a newspaper article of her ex-boyfriend making it big in academics. Disappointed, she leaves without even saying hello to her mother. Stepping outside, she finds out that Donald was looking for her. She goes to find him but he is gone. Going back to the lab, she remembers telling Donald that she did not want to go to Europe because she did not want to be away from him. Returning to the lab, as Paula drops the pill into the box, she asks Zoya if she misses her family. Zoya shrugs her shoulders, telling her of course she does. Paula reminds her what would be the purpose of extending her years if she did not miss her family. Meanwhile, we see Zoya's family waiting for her to show up for the cake. Zoya figures she always thought her family disappeared when she left them, never knowing they would still be there waiting for her. Soon, they come to a dead end again with the nanoscopic man. But Zoya already knew that. When she comes back again, Zoya points out the futility of going through the experiment again. But Paula tells her there must be something they can do, asking her to contact Mark in Princeton. However, Zoya tells her she needs to be with her family. She has been away from them for far too long. Paula is disappointed to see her go and names her for being selfish and only caring about herself, as she walks away. Moments later, Zoya finds her waiting on the steps outside. She comes to know Paula is now obsessed with the problem, even dreaming about the black holes. She promises her she will contact Mark. Later, in the middle of their conversations outside the lab, Zoya thanks Paula for all her help, telling her she is the only one after her dad died, who believed in her. As she begins to bleed, Paula asks her if she will come back again, only to find her gone. She wakes up in the hospital and finds Jane beside her. She goes to Dulsberg and asks him for Mark's number, asking him not to tell her how disappointed he is in her, as she has already heard it many times before. He understands and hands her what she came for. She drives to Mark's address and finds Mark's son Chris at the door, who tells her he has not seen his father in the last 4 months. Chris takes her to Mark's room, where Zoya is surprised to find out Mark has kept all her research work. But Chris thinks his dad has wasted his life over a bunch of books. She sees Chris struggling to deal with his loss and hugs him. While going over her work outside, She sees Donald's name scribbled over one of the pages and remembers sitting with him on the lawn in their college days. As she begins to bleed through her nose again, she hears voice messages of Donald and Jane begging her to come back, reminding her how much they love her. Zoya sees a black hole growing larger on her chest as she struggles to stand on her feet. But he manages to pop a pill and disappear. When she wakes up in the hospital, she grabs Jane and hugs her tight with Donald right next to her. Driving back home, Donald shows them his new CD, Soldiers of the Rhythm, which he is very proud of. As the week passes by, Zoya does not go anywhere and spends it with her family. While in bed with Donald, Zoya asks Donald if there is another dimension and timeline where she does not have a black hole growing in her chest. Donald tells her maybe there is, but it won't be the timeline where they would meet and have Jane. When Donald asks her if there is something she could change, Zoya wishes for more time with him. As she goes through the time again, tying the loose ends of her life, she takes her mother to see the rhino one last time before it dies. This brings a smile to her mother's face. Later she goes to meet Paula, and hands all her research paper to her, telling her she suspects great things are ahead for her, and that she will be alright. We see the nanoscopic man shrinking further and further in the box. But Zoya is with her family about to blow off the candles on her birthday cake. She finds out Jane is pregnant and could not be happier for her. As her nose begins to bleed, the screen fades to black. As the movie ends, Zoya finds herself with a younger version of herself, whispering to her that she is going to change the world when she grows up. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell for more. Thanks for watching.